Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll and Big Ten preview for Friday, the 13th, 2023. I remember when I was growing up as a kid a million years ago, Friday the 13th was a big day. Spooked, afraid to do this, afraid to do that, afraid to walk down certain parts of the school because something would happen to me. But being almost 57 years old, I'm way past that. But a full action-packed show we got for you today. Some recap on last night's action, NFL, Phillies, Braves, hockey, and then, of course, we'll talk about today's games. But today is a big part of our show is SouthSide Riley with the Big Ten preview, getting you ready for Saturday's Big Ten game. So without further ado, let's bring in the co-star of this show, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson. Good morning, Riley.
Morning, my friend. Happy Friday morning. I am ready to rock and roll. As you mentioned, we've got a little bit of recapping to do, but yeah, it's Big Ten Friday, my friend. And we previewed it a little bit last night, what we got going on, but not the most channel must-watch television type weekend for the Big Ten necessarily. There's one that I've been waiting for, but has since changed, the storylines of it with some injuries. But nonetheless, I'm still excited for it. If Friday the 13th, is any indication of what we have this weekend, there's, three teams that, could be on potential upset watch. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth because I think all three of those teams will probably win pretty handily this weekend at the Big Ten. But nonetheless, it's at least worth alluding to and hinting at and giving us something to look forward to. But yeah, because we've got three big spreads. One of them, Penn State up against UMass in your neck of the woods, but I think a 40-point spread or something like that. And then Michigan and Ohio State playing a couple of lesser teams in the Big Ten as well. But that Iowa-Wisconsin game, we talked about it yesterday. Without McNamara, obviously it's not as highly anticipated as it would have been a couple weeks ago. Still a huge game. I mean, with Iowa, they won some games without with a tin can at quarterback last year. I wouldn't put it past them to do it again necessarily this year. Obviously, it's going to be a lot harder than what they were doing with McNamara. We'll get there when we get there, but nonetheless, Deacon Hill has not looked very good in the game and a half that we've seen him so far over there for the Hawkeyes. But nonetheless, you mentioned it. We can get into a little recap before we do that. Obviously, the two main storylines last night, baseball and NFL. Not as much fireworks in that NFL game as we thought there might be. 19-8 finish there. Broncos offense just pretty atrocious. I mean, there's obviously Frank Clark officially out of the building this morning. I know he wasn't playing last night, obviously, but out of the building officially. So the fire sale could be on its way. They're hosting my Packers next. I want to say next Sunday. So. Obviously, ugly sledding for them, and as you mentioned yesterday, if it wasn't for that second half against the Bears, they'd be 0-6. So obviously a dumpster fire there. You mentioned Sean Payton's not going anywhere, so that's the one continuity that we're definitely going to see. And then elsewhere, I'm curious to see what happens. So, anything else to clean up from the Thursday night football game last night?
I forgot to do this before we started the show. I want to give a shout out to our new sponsor and partnership, WagerWire. Great job, Joe, on their commercial. Big things planned. If you're not following, go ahead.
No, I was
Oh,
just
okay.
pointing to wager wire.
Yes. Yes, there you go. If you haven't downloaded the app, go to your app store, Google Play, download the app. It's for free. It's an amazing app that will allow you to sync all your wages, follow your wages, ROI. It will allow you to shop all the sports books around to get the best price. Now, obviously, if you don't have accounts on those, you can't just, it's not one-stop shopping. And just because you have it on the app, you can place wagers there. But if you, a state like Massachusetts that has 8 live apps right now, soon to be 11, you have an opportunity to get a bunch of those apps, and window shop is what we talk about. And also they have a great affiliate program where you can make some side cash. So send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Shout out to CEO, FEO founders, of course, Zach and Travis. We'll have Travis on early next week to go over the company, where they are and where they are going. Shout out to the men behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis, Olu Bennett, and of course Kate Horton there. Last night, we'll stay on the Broncos. It was, I don't want to say it was funny, because I think there comes a time when people overstep their boundaries. And the professional athletes of today are different than they were when I was growing up. The feeling of entitlement, the feeling of, you know who I am, feeling of, if you are not 100% healthy, I can't play. I talk about this a lot in the NBA. It's not about winning championships. It's about sneaker deals. It's about music deals. It's about movie deals. It's about what is my ranking and speed on 2K for the gaming. And so we had, of course, a fiasco, which kind of took over the story with Steve Smith and the pregame. I guess he's got a podcast, and the way I understood it, and don't quote me on this, almost like he's saying he is ranking these players now, and agents are calling him, hey, do we make a move on him, blah, blah, blah. And he's trying to say, and if I misunderstood it, I apologize, but he's trying to say, he's got a big say in the matter. So in other words, people calling up for Jerry Jeudy, and I guess he called out Jerry Jeudy not too long ago and called him a jag, which is just another guy. And then came out and apologized on his podcast, but wanted to make it clear last night as he was passing by, hey, I apologize what I said. You got the skills to pay the bills. Let's show it on primetime. And Jerry Jeudy just wanted no part of it, and I think might have said something that crossed the line. And then Steve Smith, being Steve Smith, touts off the side of his neck for 45 seconds and then just drops the mic. So again, I saw some of the professional athletes. Was it Des Bryant, or there was someone that says, hey, Steve, you are a great player. There's a time and place for this. You don't do this on national TV.
Right. And Steve Smith, I mean, he's obviously a confident guy that, this is, saying, not being afraid to say something like that is who he was as a player, and one of my favorite players to watch when I was younger. But no, I saw a little bit this morning. I was trying to play catch up. I didn't watch the game with sound on last night. I had it sound off. Was watching the game, but didn't see it real time. Saw some of the reaction, like you said. But no, it's interesting because you can obviously be critical, but like you said, there is still a line where you're you can't be taking money away from certain guys, and especially when you're Steve Smith, who's as respected as he is as a player and as a voice, and to be able to respect who you're, it's still a brotherhood from their standpoint, especially within the receiver community there. So no, I'm with you. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm sure you laugh at me if I say it, but even when I was younger, it was, a young kid, it was still different where guys would play through injury and stuff like that. And, I was young. And obviously as I've grown up, it's changed throughout my entire life there. So, no, it's interesting. And this Broncos team is obviously a bizarre case. And I think with Sean Payton being a part of the decision-making process, there's probably going to be a lot of that gets out of this locker room, as if you're talking about the Broncos as being a team like that. So I don't think really anybody's safe other than Sean Payton in that building, if that's what we're talking about as far as fire sale is concerned. And they're obviously trying to stockpile, kind of trying to recoup anything that they can from, I'm not saying that any team is going to want Russell Wilson. I'm saying, if they can trade other guys to get any type of draft capital back to recoup what they gave up for Russell Wilson, who's been obviously a trade wreck, they're going to have to do it because their hands are pretty tied and they've got really nothing. If you're a Broncos fan, this is about as hopeless as you're probably as you've felt. If you're someone my age, probably about as hopeless as you felt in over 20 years, I would say.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to piggyback off of it. The bottom line, Sean Payton has an out. He's going to say, hey, you can fire all the coaches like you did last year. We can bring in a new regime, but I'll use an old Bill Parcells line. If you want me to cook, let me, pick the groceries. And so Sean Payton's going to use the effect, well, this was all the leftovers team. This isn't my team. So you saw the repercussions and how bad these guys are. So again, Frank Clark, he gone. I don't think Jerry Jeudy, and again, I don't have any insight here, but the days of Jerry Jeudy are numbered. I don't know if they get rid of, I call him the Count, of course, Cortland Sutton. But you can't look into next year and say, we're going to build around just Marvin Mims Jr. here, because obviously it takes a lot more. We're seeing the emergence of McLaughlin. It looks like, he's pushing Javante. They brought P. Ryan over. So I don't know, next year, you go again with a Javante, but your second and third down back is McLaughlin. And I don't know the contractual arrangements with Russell Wilson. Obviously, this is now year 2 of a disaster. I assume there's some out somewhere, and he will not be there next year. Some team looking for veteran leadership and, hey, I can change him and maybe catch lightning in a bottle, will head down that way. But the Chiefs just being the Chiefs. I mean, let's be real. Next man up. Yeah. Kels has a big first quarter. We knew it would be a big Pacheco day. McKinnon did a little. We're starting to see the emergence slightly of Rashee Rice. I think as this season progresses, he might end up being that 1A with Kels being the 1. But, a typical Thursday night football game, nothing from the fantasy football side. But the comedy is this. Everyone that woke up this morning is doing cartwheels that had Kansas City plus 10.5. Because it, of course, magically landed on 11. And if you had Denver plus 11 or bought a hook and had them at 11.5, God bless you, because you won there as well.
Yeah, and to finish up on him, I mean, Sean Payton was saying those things before the season, essentially, blaming Hackett before the season even started. So maybe he thought they were going to win more than a game, but he was laying the groundwork for this, this isn't my fault before the season even started. So he knew what he was getting himself into there. But going over to the bases, my friend, Phillies 3-1 series win, 3-1 victory last night. Braves threatened a little bit there in the ninth, but obviously no dice there at the end of it. Castellanos, couple bombs again, and yet we still have seen a couple of these guys not do too much. Schwarber's still quiet, and we're moving into the 8 more wins needed, and you've got a guy who, if he breaks out, could be as dangerous as anybody in this lineup. So, reason to believe. You've got last year's Phillies and this year's Phillies here again, and now you've got a team that you said has a chance to be the Phillies of last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks this year. Any thoughts going into this upcoming series? I was seeing a series price of -170 for the Phillies, which I think was +140 for the D-backs where I saw it there. Trey Turner was great last night, 4 for 4. Any, I don't know. Are you feeling good about it one way or another? Is this a sneaky Diamondbacks team still, or is this Phillies offensive lineup a little too dangerous? Shoot, if Schwarber breaks out, I'm going Phillies. But obviously, if you can get a couple guys to go cold, then this Phillies team can have a quiet offensive series for sure.
Good morning to Mr. PB. I hope you're enjoying the sports action here in October, sir. It's only going to get better. It's starting in November, so buckle up. That smile as you were talking, I had a number in my head for that Phillies series, and I will tell you, to be 100% honest, I was about 40 cents off. Again, we remember what we saw last. Don't forget, this Phillies team made it to the World Series last year. Almost the two favorites now, collision course again, Phillies and Astros. I set the number literally around -210 in my head with the Phillies having the home field advantage. I'm looking at Circa Wrap right now. Phillies -180, D-backs +155. I will just tell everyone right here at 10:51 on Friday the 13th, it's a Diamondbacks number. Meaning home field experience, Bryce Harper, Castellanos, Trey Turner, Wheeler, Nola, the crowd. And yet they opened it in some spots at 170. They know they're getting the Phillies money. Anyone that had the D-backs over the Brewers, sprinkled something on the +220 against the Dodgers. You're going to ride your hot horse. Someone dear friend of mine, family member here at ECSI for a long time, I think's got 15-1 on the Snakes. So he's got from back a few of our clients too. So a lot of hedge opportunities, a lot of fun coming up here. Again, the first thought process this morning, Riley, is, Phillies. If you want the Phillies, what are you going to do? You're going to say Phillies minus a game and a half, hope it doesn't go to 7, because you don't want to lay the 170 or 180. They're hot, but no one wants to say how damn hot the Snakes are.
Right. And to solidify your point, after what we saw the last two nights, too, of that crowd and Harper having 2 bombs and Castellanos having 4 bombs in 2 days, and the crowd, like you said, you said it all, and it was you could have done without that the last 2 days, and that still would have been the mindset for the public going into this game. And then you had that the last 2 days against a 100-win Braves team, and now it's tenfold on it for the series there. So I'm glad we're aligned on that one. I didn't know what to expect on the opening number, but anything -200 or higher would have been obviously, like you said, less of a Diamondbacks number for sure there, and the fact that it's -170 right there. I guess, anyone who was looking at the Phillies, I don't know what like you said, I've never been a fan of, unless I'm that confident in the team, of a -1.5 in a series or anything like that. I typically like that in basketball, maybe more than a baseball series, as far as that is concerned there. So, no, I don't know. If you're desperate to get in on the Phillies, you're probably taking some type of series, in 5-6 type prop or something along those lines, which I'm not interested in myself. So now I've been vocal. We've talked about it. This Diamondbacks, the couple horses they've got are as good as anybody here and match up well with what the Phillies got there. So. And they're well rested. They didn't use them a second time in the division series there. They didn't have to use them in 4 and 5, game 4 and 5, like they might have had to there. So they're well rested, Gallen and Merrill Kelly there. So I think that's pretty damn huge there. And obviously, assuming they're gonna go into start in Philly for games 1 and 2 with Gallon and Merrill Kelly potentially there. If you can steal one of those games and flip home field advantage and take it back to Arizona, then obviously they're in good shape there.
Yeah, and the mindset again for all the Philly backers is the fact that, well, the way he is pitched, and I'm not saying he's the next coming to, Steve Carlton or Tug McGraw here, but Suarez has looked sharp the first two. So you match up a Suarez versus a Fat in Game 3 in Arizona. I think the Phillies will be a slight advantage there. The big thing that will be going forward here is the fact that. The four most winning teams that awaited to get to the second round, 1-12 was the final mark there. So that 5 days off did not work. So again, no inside. I didn't talk to John Heyman. I didn't talk to Jared Carrabis. Here's what I think will probably happen. I think they'll go back to the one game win and in, because that only allows 3 days off for those teams that are waiting. So because you'll have the American League games on one day and then the National on the other, then you'll have the travel day. So instead of 5 days off, there'll only be 3 days off. And I think they'll go there to say, hey, we hear what you guys are saying. I mean, because listen, I'm not buying the narrative. I am not. Okay. But 1-12 between the Dodgers, the Braves, the Orioles, and who am I missing?
You sure it's
The
1 and 12 because
Twins?
the Astros were
No,
the
wouldn't
fourth
be the
team.
Twins. They said last night it was 1-11 going because the Braves won Game 3. I'm missing someone. No, maybe those
wasn't the
are the
Astros the
three
fourth
that they
team?
were using.
Yeah, maybe it was between those three then.
No. The Astros were in already. The Orioles were waiting.
And
Who
so were
else
the
was
Astros,
waiting?
because the Twins had to go through. The Twins won 2 games against somebody. Yeah, it was the Astros that was waiting, so something's wrong with that.
Yeah, we know the Rays got swept too, so I'll have to go back on that. But they were talking about 1-11. We know obviously Atlanta won 1 game. We know the Braves. We know the Dodgers got swept. We know the Orioles got swept. And the way that I understood it, I don't know. I know they were talking 1-11. We'll figure that one out.
No, I mean the point stands though. I mean those three out of the 4 teams got smoked in that round though. So that we're waiting for those teams. So no, the point still stands.
All right. Well, we had a nice intro. Quick funny story. Our eyes were good in hockey. Rangers team total got there. We lose late with Columbus. No, actually, I shouldn't say lose late. We don't get through with Columbus. Had a couple other good eyes against the Kraken and a few others. But the comedy was I was on social media for a minute late last night, and all the Houston ticket holders were like, "Yep, damn it, I deserved it." And then I go back to my phone because I follow most of the games on my phone. I got 8 games going on behind me when I need to go back and check plays and stuff. And then I look at the final. I was like, holy shit, Houston's good. And then, one play and then a Hail Mary. So then all the Houston guys that ripped up the tickets were like, I told you so. I told you so.
No, I mean we talked about it. It was that type of game that was the itch scratching game, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. You got an adrenaline rush, whichever side of the coin you're on there for sure. So, no, I like I said, I lean towards Houston, but I'm certainly I didn't mention it on the show here because I'm not patting myself on the back for a last second Hail Mary or whatever the hell it was. So, no, that was good fun there. But yeah, as you're mentioning it, let's get into the old Big 10 slate, my friend. Let's see. My system's moving a little slower than usual here today, but I want to say it's 6 games. One of those is a non-conference game, like we said. Let's get right into it. First, I think there's 3 of them at that noon kickoff window there. Michigan hosting Indiana is one of them there. Number 2 in the country, Michigan. Minus 33.5, minus 34 on the spread, 45.5 or so on the total there. Obviously, Michigan has done everything they need to do to be, a top 2 team, top 3 team for sure. Defensively, I think last week against Minnesota, 10 points is the most points they've allowed this season to this point, from what I understand there. And this Indiana team, 2-3. Not obviously, probably not too excited to have to see Michigan across the field on them there. Hadn't been too terrible defensively in certain situations up until that Maryland game, 44-17 game there. 23-3 loss against Ohio State to open things up. Ohio State kind of playing with their food a little bit there. But a team total for Indiana, all over the place a little bit. I see on DraftKings a 5.5 at minus 115. I see a couple other places over 6.5 at minus 150 on one of these big books here, public books. So obviously not a ton of confidence that Indiana is going to have any sort of fight in this game here. The interesting part about their defense, their pass defense had held up well up until that Maryland game. And it was their rush defense that did not look very good. And so Michigan kind of been playing with their food a little bit and still, at least offensively, and still blowing the doors off of teams here. So a little worried that this Michigan rushing, not worried, but pretty confident that this Michigan rushing attack is going to run roughshod on this Indiana defense here. I would say maybe the number is pretty high, 33.5, 34.5. Obviously, they got to keep pushing this number up and up the more Michigan blows out these teams here. So I do feel like it is a little inflated, but that doesn't mean I don't think they can, win 40-6 or something along those lines. I don't think that's out of control there, but I'm not laying the points with Michigan necessarily this week.
Well, it's funny. That's the number that you came up with, because my true number was 46 with a 34.5, and your math is spot on because I'll use circa today. 46 is the under over at circa with a spread of 33. So let me see. 40-6. I got cute on some team totals with Michigan, meaning against Rutgers and someone else, where we had it under 9.5. And they didn't get to 10, and we were blessed there, even with Rutgers scoring in the first minute and a half. So shop around there. I mean, think about it now. How many times do you see under over a 46 with a spread of 33? And so you talk about threading the needle. So if you wanted to bet Michigan, you're better off betting the over, right? I mean, but then you need help from Rutgers. So then you say, all right, what is Michigan's team total? Did they give you 39 and a hook?
Yep, 39.5. I see, and in a lot of spaces, it's juiced over too.
And what is, you said 5.5 and 6.5 on the Indiana side?
Yeah, it was there was a couple books that I think maybe don't have it posted yet, and don't really know what to do with it. But 5.5 is the best number that you can get if you want the over, minus 115. And I even see Caesars has it over 6.5 at minus 150, and that's the only option that you can get there.
The over 6.5 is minus 150.
At least that's just Caesars. I saw another spot. It was over 6.5 minus
Caesars,
120,
okay,
something like that.
So listen, I was born at night, not last night. And the fact of the matter is, what's good about that number is you can allow Indiana to score 2 field goals, or if they do get a touchdown or getting blown out, they might go for 2. So you're going to get plus 130 on the under there. So anyone that was trying to bet Michigan and thread this needle, if you got a Caesars account, go over there, take the oh geez, I got a brain fart here. I'm sorry. Indiana team total under 6.5, get the plus 130. And then, again, you can allow 2 field goals. You can allow a touchdown. Hope they go for 2 or miss the extra point. That's the only way you're going to get plus money. If you like Michigan in the spot to cover, well, you might as well take their damn team total over because, again, it's like threading a needle in this game.
Yeah, and to give them more confidence than we've already given them, they're at home for the first time in a few weeks, so obviously the place is going to be rocking, ready to roll for them there. They do have Michigan State next week, which in a different year you might say maybe they're looking ahead, but I don't think they're too afraid of old Sparty this year. As much as little brother has been a thorn in their side at some point, they are not afraid to go into Michigan State and beat them by 30. Because I don't see the spread yet, but it's probably not going to be too pretty there. They don't. They get Purdue after that, so they don't have. I mean, their two big games, on November 11th at Penn State and November 25th against Ohio State. Still ways away in the horizon. They can focus on Indiana and beat the doors off them for their home fans there tomorrow. So that's it. Yeah, no, and like you said, thread the needle is definitely a good word for it there. Let's go over. I guess let's. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you said November 11th, and I'm like, man, would I like to jump in a car and go out to Penn State for Penn State, Michigan. But I have to work. I get BC Syracuse. So think of that. Penn State, Michigan, whiteout, BC Syracuse.
Yeah, it might be a fun one over there on the East Coast. But no, we are going over to the East Coast for this next game and that Michigan State team. Michigan State Rutgers is the other one there. One of the closer, maybe the closest spread of the Big Ten slate here. Rutgers 4-2, Michigan State 2-3. I think both of these teams are probably pretty happy that they get to face this opposing team, if that makes any sense. Michigan State, their 3 losses all come in these last 3 weeks. Has been horrific offensively, 7-40, and defensively. 7-41 loss at home to Washington. After opening up the season, a couple easy wins against Central Michigan and Richmond, and then 9-31 home loss to Maryland, and then a loss 2 weeks ago at Iowa, 16-26. A game in which Iowa's quarterback goes down, and it's an ugly performance from Deacon Hill, and it's still a 26-16 performance there. I think it's a defensive touchdown for Michigan State in that game. I don't believe they scored an offensive touchdown in that game against Iowa there. And then you have Rutgers, who is 4-2. Their 2 losses, September 23rd, that game at Michigan. They bounce back 52-3 against Wagner. Easy sledding there. And then go to Wisconsin last week, 24-13. And you and I had them scoring some more points than that they had. And really, it was 24-6, and then they scored a late touchdown. Down, they throw a goal line pick six, 95-yard pick six to end the half. They were down 10-0, I believe. Even if they settle for a field goal 10-3, they score out a half, and it could have been 10-10 game. So I guess what I'm saying is, as much as I like Wisconsin, Rutgers didn't play as bad as what that score, 24-6 score, and then obviously the 24-13 ultimate score was. Didn't play that bad. So I guess what I'm saying is I think Rutgers wins this game. The total at 39.5. I guess maybe you get a good performance from the Michigan State defense. I don't really trust Michigan State's defense by any means. But at the end of the day, I think Rutgers wins this game because I do think they are just the better team. I don't like this Michigan State offense. I don't like this Michigan State defense. I'm not saying Rutgers wins going away, but and I'm leaning towards the 4.5. But it wouldn't surprise me if this game is close necessarily. But I do like Rutgers to win this game and take care of business. Team totals are a little goofy, at least on Rutgers' side of things. 21.5, 22.5. So I do think they score in some points and could be right around that number, and if not going over. Michigan State right at that 16.5 number, minus 125 to the over. So you and I obviously talk a lot about that, and we know, I'm sure what we think is the consensus between this show on that team total for Michigan State. So I'm leaning to I'm not saying I'm hammering away on minus 4.5, but I do like Rutgers to take care of business in this game, look good defensively, and hold down this Michigan State offense that really has not been. It's been abysmal. I mean, that 16-point number against Iowa is even a little fraudulent there. Even as obviously 16's nothing to write home about, but that's still fraudulent in its own right there. So I like this Rutgers team more than they get credit for. So I am definitely leaning Rutgers in this game here.
Yeah, my true numbers here. Let me see. Let me move the eyes. I had a 40 with a 5. Now at circa 40 with a 4.5. The hardest part with this game is I think just moving forward. I have no idea which Michigan State team's going to show up. I don't know what's going on in the locker room. Now it sounds like the coach was railroaded, and now the fact of the matter is that the school's probably going to have to pay him the $90 or $91 million there. Not a good season again for the Sparties in football. I know November 1st couldn't come soon enough so we can start talking about Izzo's Army and the Sparties in the Big Ten in basketball.
Yeah.
I think Rutgers is the side. I just have no faith. I have more faith, obviously, in Rutgers. I mean, the 5's a scary number. Can they get to 23? 23-17 is what Vegas is telling me right now is where this one lands. And we said the 16.5 was a telltale sign. So if you had to get into this game, I would take the Michigan State team total under 16.5. And what did they give you for a Rutgers team total? Did they give you the old 22.5?
Depends on the book. I see a 22.5 and I see a couple 21.5. So at least right on between these three books right here.
So if you got the 21.5 juiced under, you could take it over. Again, Vegas is telling me 23-16 is the final. Somewhere, again, the key numbers are obviously in this game are 23 and 17. Does Michigan State get to 17 or more? Does Rutgers get over 21? Do they get to that 23 or 24 number? So I'll be poetic justice here and say final score, Rutgers 23, Michigan State 16.
Yep. No, I like it. I like it a lot, honestly, and I want Rutgers to win this game to kind of validate my thoughts that this team. I'm not saying they're a true contender of the Big Ten by any means. Obviously, they got the doors beat off by Michigan and still lost to Wisconsin. But I've been saying they're better than what they get credit for all season long. How about we start the maybe this isn't the right situation with what's going on there, but how about we start the we can lead the charge on the old how about Urban Meyer to Sparty? If anyone can clean this up from an on-field standpoint, maybe not so much clean it up on the off-field standpoint, but how about Urban Meyer to old Sparty for football next year?
Well, here's the funny. Our good friend and colleague, Bernie Fratto, Fox Sports Radio, where he comes on here religiously. I am a guest occasionally on his show, broke that a couple weeks ago that Urban Meyer was in town. And not that Urban Meyer was getting the job. Urban Meyer was in East Lansing. And then it blew up on the media. It blew up on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And then there was, no, he wasn't. Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. So I think he was in town just to get a temperature. Here's the downside, Riley. I know they're deep pocketed. I do.
Yeah.
But if they got to pay Mr. Tucker
Yes.
$90 million, how are they going to pay Urban Meyer?
Another 90, 100 million. No, the answer is no. They're not doing that. No, I more fun. Honestly, I didn't see as much of that as you were talking about there. So shout out to Bernie for that. But no, that I think that's the underlying point. Is as you said, I'm sure they would pay a lot of money to get out of this dumpster fire. But yeah, it does seem like the whether it's a full $90 million or whatever the hell it is, but. Yeah, no, we don't like to speculate over here, but it is swinging back that way more than the opposite way as far as the Mel Tucker situation there. So, all right, let's get out of that one. Ohio State produced last one at that time window. Ohio State 19.5, 52.5 is the numbers that I am seeing across the market for the most part there. Ohio State last 2 weeks. 17-14 win at Notre Dame. I'm sorry, that was maybe a couple weeks before that. But no, that's 2 games, I should say. Close game with Maryland last week, and then really, really play well in the second half to pull away there, 37-17. Purdue goes into Iowa. We thought it was a little bit of a stench of the night, stench of the day, whatever it was. Offensively, not there, not very good. A bit of a goofy game, but obviously didn't match up enough to Iowa to take care of them on the road there. I've been vocal. I don't really like this Purdue team at all this year. I think they've been a little too well respected, in my opinion, in certain markets. I've had it was a little too stinky last week for me to go against them, but this has been the team in the Big Ten that I have up until that Illinois game successfully had action against. And even you look through it, I mean, that 44-19 win against Illinois is their best one. It was like a 17-17, 17-16 type game at half or something like that, and Illinois forgot to show up for the second half, and it was a 28-point performance for Purdue in the second half there. So their pass game is okay at times, but when you give it some predictability, I don't think it's going to be very successful here tomorrow against Ohio State. They might be able to move the ball a little bit at times here, but I do like this Ohio State defense. But if you're telling me this Ohio State team is going to get out to a lead, and Purdue's going to have to air it out to get back into it, and it's a little predictable, I think you could see some Ohio State, defensive turnovers, maybe a defensive score or two from Ohio State here, or at the very least setting up some great field position for them. Ohio State does have one of their big games next week, though, if we're talking about teams that might be looking ahead. They've got Penn State coming into town next week. So that is one thing to mention for sure. Actually, their next 2 weeks, Penn State and Wisconsin next 2 weeks. So it's a big stretch after this game for Ohio State, kind of make or break for their season there. Or maybe not make or break, but obviously, massive games outside of the Michigan game there for sure. So team totals out of this one, Purdue 16.5, and Ohio State 35.5 there. So from my side of things, I haven't been as high on this Ohio State teams as the past couple of years. Still a very, very good team. But I am pretty damn low on this Purdue team, more so than the market has been giving them credit for. So I like Ohio State to put up some points in this one, but the issue is that, are they looking ahead is really what my biggest hesitation on Ohio State here this week is.
We got hooked, the ECSI VIPs last Saturday. We got hooked on the Ohio State team total, of course. Wasn't too happy. They were just playing grab ass all first half. Got it going late third, early fourth, and we just ran out of time there. And he did make sure that he covered. I think they were favored by 17 and a half. And he kicked the field goal late, and they win by 20, of course. Yes, of course he did. My true numbers here. Where was it? I just had it. Give me a second. 20 with a 50. Now down to 19 with a 52.5. It's kind of funny because I thought Ohio State last week would really. That has been a spot where they've scored a lot of points, and they didn't. In my eyes. Now you got a week before Penn State. A game last year, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in our studio, and Penn State twice had opportunities to take the lead at halftime and costly turnovers. I think I heard the look-ahead number was Ohio State 5 next week against Penn State. So, sketchy spot. As you know, I'm a little jaded right now with Ohio State, which means they put up 40 this week. Let me see. Let me do some basic math there. 20 with a 50, 30, 20, 30, 33, 13 is 43. They're at 52, 34, 40. So what'd they give you? The old token 34.5, 36.5 for Ohio State this week?
I think it's 35.5.
30,
yep,
of course, right in the middle, right? Yeah. 35. Yeah. So 35.5, 15 is 50. So the final score will be 34-14. How's that grab you as they get ready for Penn State?
Yeah. No, if it wasn't for that, if they had, any other insert any, bottom half team in the Big Ten next week, I think I'd be all in on Ohio State getting up, 40 plus, but it's that, look ahead spot that's really got me there because you almost have to be as far as that game is concerned. If you can win that, then obviously you're setting yourself up to, just that Michigan game being the one to look forward to. But no, you're right. 5 is the look ahead number next week. Ohio State at home against Penn State, and then for what it's worth, the other look ahead line is Michigan minus 24.5. At Michigan State for what it's worth. But we'll get into that one next week there. Let's see. The other one, I don't any reason to stop and talk about Penn State UMass. Anything to note there, or should we move past that one?
No, I mean the fact is again, it's hats off to the AD what they were able to do where a lot of the big games in the SEC the week before they have a week off. Once in a while, Alabama will get a tune-up in there, a team getting a check. Obviously, UMass getting a nice paycheck here. This will allow two things. This will allow Penn State to work on some stuff. And second of all, they don't have to open up their playbook, obviously, against a UMass team. Again, it's not your usual Ohio State team. And this Penn State team, I'm not saying they would beat Georgia. I'm not saying at this point they'd beat Michigan, but just from the eye test and the feel, they're a better team, I think, right now than Ohio State.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend. I that was my big take of the off season was that they at least were going to beat Ohio State. I like you said, are they better than Michigan? You could probably say maybe they aren't, and obviously what we saw last year with Michigan running rap shot on them. In that game, could happen again. But I feel differently about them. I do. I think, depending on what happens in between those three teams, and obviously what happens elsewhere in the country, you could get two of these three teams in the top, in the Final Four there. If one of these teams maybe isn't able to make the Big Ten championship but only has one loss and they beat one of the other teams, then, it's possible that we get two of these Big Ten teams in there. So, Penn State has been one of those teams for me that I've been, standing up and giving some confidence to. But no, I agree. As far as scheduling the week before, I mean, Ohio State gets some benefit that Purdue's down a little bit, but give me last year's Purdue team against Ohio State with the look ahead game, and maybe that last year's Purdue team gives Ohio State a run for their money this year. I don't know, but. Sometimes the stars don't align like that. But we've got two games left. Illinois, Maryland is the next one. You mentioned this one to me as we were closing the show last night. Maryland minus 13.5 at home, 51.5 on the game total. Coming off of Maryland's loss at Ohio State, 37-17. Illinois not looking good. I mentioned to you, I think this is an ugly team, at least right now, in contention for the worst team in the conference right now. 7-20 loss last Friday at home against Nebraska as 3-point favorites there. Mentioned the Purdue game, 19-44. Was a closer game, but got the doors beat off of them there in the second half. Their two wins, 23-17 at home against FAU as 15.5-point favorites does not look very good either. And then the slight win in the opening against Toledo is really the only time their offense has looked good. Second half against Kansas, their offense looks okay, and then they get beat pretty handily by Penn State themselves at home there, and Penn State kind of just going through the motions in that one a little bit there. So where I'm at with this Illinois team is that it's not very good. I told you if there's going to be any surgeons, I do think I've been telling you I think they could lose to Northwestern. It is the final week of the season. If they played tomorrow against Northwestern, I think Northwestern would have a chance to win. I do think Illinois will get better as the season goes on here with Bielema, leading this team here. But nonetheless, you got Maryland 32.5 on the game team total. Illinois 18.5, kind of in a goofy spot there for Illinois' offense. I don't know what this Illinois offense is going to do against this Maryland defense, but if obviously Tagovailoa didn't look very sharp last week against Ohio State, large reason why Ohio State was able to have a few extra possessions in the second half there. He was causing some turnovers, wasn't very good in the second half last year. If he's at all sharp here against this Illinois secondary, this one could get ugly. So I don't really know. 14-point game sounds about right to me, in my opinion here, but could be a 10, 13-point game. I don't know. These numbers seem kind of fair to me, and really kind of illustrates that Illinois is nowhere near what they were last year by any stretch.
Yeah, my true numbers were 15 and 51. Right now it's circa 13.5 and 51.5. I talked to you last night on our show. I thought the number looks too high to me, and I might have moved a half point or whatever. I got the orange on for you today. I was thinking of you guys here trying to wish him home. I will say this. You said the Maryland team total 32.5. and a half. That 32 and a half to 33s are usually go numbers. They're in no man's land because you got to get over 31. Can you get to that? 33 is usually a dead number. So then you get to 34, 35. With that said, I'm afraid of game flow. This one, again, how pissed off are the Terps? We talk about basketball, which, again, my brother, is only 17, 18 days away. And we talk about the Friday night games. And the Terps are the twerps because, whatever side we're on, the other's going to happen. So if you wanted to get into this game, I'll say team total over 32 and a half. But I got a smelling feeling about this game. I really do.
To give you some confidence as far as even if we're just talking about the spread there, another reason why it might be as high as it is Illinois has yet to cover a spread this year. They're 0-6 against the number. And so when you got that, at some point you got to just raise that number a little bit extra so that people stop hammering the other side of it there. So that could be a reason to say, hey, this line is inflated because Illinois is for God's sakes, they're 0-6 to the number there, and it hasn't been that close on a lot of these spreads either. Penn State, they were 14-point dogs and lost to 17. That's the closest they've come to covering a spread to, what I see here in front of me here. -3 at home against Nebraska, and they lose by 13. So, yeah, no, I could see Illinois hanging in a little bit. I do think Maryland's going to win this one, but at the end of the day, no, I don't hate what you're saying by any means. This one does feel a little goofy there. Moving into the last one, could ultimately be, obviously the spread is a 10-point spread, so not as close as that spread was on the look ahead when McNamara was around for Iowa, obviously gone for the season there. Both these teams, I guess Iowa's had 6 games, Wisconsin's had 5 games. Both these teams have kept their opponents under 100 points for the entire season still so far here. But obviously, Wisconsin 2-0 in conference, Iowa 2-1. Only teams that have 1 or less losses here in the conference. So could be kind of the decider for the conference here, with the rest of the conference on that half not looking very good at all, really not many endearing spots at all in the rest of the conference there. So this one kind of is the de facto Big Ten West Championship, if that's how we're trying to call it, the team that's going to face off at the end of the season against one of those big 3 teams on the other side of it there. So from that standpoint, this game is pretty massive when you break down like that, as far as these are really the only 2 teams that have any legitimate shot of winning the Big Ten West here. But obviously, when you look at Deacon Hill and this Iowa offense, it's starting to look a lot like the dumpster fire offense that we saw last year, the team that was laughing stock of the Big Ten, at least offensively. But at the end of the day, they still won a good amount of games because their defense is as good as it is. So I was surprised to see this. This is another total that's as low can be, 34.5. I was kind of surprised to see that, but when you look at how bad Deacon Hill in this offense has been, it does make a little bit of sense, because I do still respect Iowa's defense, but obviously, we talked about it with the NFL, but if this Iowa offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, there's only so much this Iowa defense can do here. So I don't really know what to make of it. They're begging you to hammer the +10 on Iowa there, but I'm staying out of it. I'm grabbing my popcorn because in my head says that Iowa's defense is going to have a spirited performance and make it a better game. But as I've stated, and you have echoed it for me as well, is this Wisconsin team does kind of keep looking better and better as we get on with the Luke Fickell opening season here. So I think the spread is fair. I'll say Wisconsin. It's obviously a kind of a cop out, but I'll say Wisconsin wins exactly by 10, like the spread suggests there.
Couple numbers I want you to take a look at here, if you could, Riley. I had a 9 with a 35.5. Now 9.5 with a 34.5. 17. No, so 23, 13. 23, 13, 36. Yeah, that's even too much. What did they give you for your Iowa team total? Did they give you 10.5 or 13?
I see three different spots here: 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, all about minus 115. So you you can shop around
Okay.
whether you like the over under on that for Iowa and get a couple extra points here or there.
Okay, and let me piggyback on that to everyone that's watching and listening, because this is very, very important. Everyone here should know key numbers. Okay, so we
Yeah.
know in football 7, 10, 13, 14. Then you get to the 17, 20, 21. So there's a lot of what we call square books that just throw out half-assed numbers. The sharpest book around I call is the Mecca and Circa. That's why I use as a reference. My point is, some just copy and paste and put up numbers. That's what 95% of these guys do. So your your true number might be 10 and a half. Okay. So, but then someone throws up 11 is a key number, because don't forget, a field goal, then a touchdown, 2-point conversion gets you to 11. But a 12, 99% of the time is a dead number. So if you see a 12 or 12 and a half, unless you're going to get 4 field goals, which, believe me, in an Iowa-Wisconsin game, you could get 4 field goals. So maybe that's a bad example there. All right. So Wisconsin team total, did they give you the 21 and a half juice under?
I see I see both 21.5 and 22.5. And even 22.5 juiced over in a certain spot, but yeah, kind of, they're not really juicing anything either way too much on any of these books that I'm seeing. 21.5 minus 110 each way is what I'm seeing in a couple spots, and same thing with 22.5.
Here's the big number. This is what I really wanted to see, if they're going to give us a carrot here. What is the first half spread?
4.5. 4.5.
All right. So what is 4.5 plus 4.5?
That is 9, my friend. Good math.
Okay. So again, Vegas is not giving us a 5, 5.5, or 6 here. So I'm going to tell everyone what to do with this game. You put it up, you got your 4, 5, 6, 8 games going. You put it up on the screen and you hit the mute button, grab some popcorn, and you go watch Washington and Oregon at 3:30. Is this one at 3:30?
It's 3 my time,
4
so
o'clock.
4 your time, actually.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goofy window.
I just think Wisconsin's the better team, but in a death by 10,000 paper cuts, maybe it's a pick six, maybe it's a blocked field goal. I'll go on record and say the final score here will be Wisconsin 20, Iowa 10. How's that?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. If McNamara was still in, I think the spread was maybe projected 4.5 in favor of Wisconsin at home, and I would have given some love to Iowa, maybe having a chance to win this game. Even if you're into Iowa, I might throw a couple bucks on them just to win outright. I'm not playing around with the 10. And I do think Wisconsin wins. I am with you. I'll say, yeah, you said 20 to 10, whatever it was that you said there. 23-13, or shoot, even 22-12. Like you said, now that you say that, I think you could see some 4 or 5 field goals one way or another there. But no, I mean, like you said, maybe there's a pick six or something. I plus 310. If I'm throwing a couple bucks on an Iowa money line, that's the only way I can get it into one. But this will be center stage at the Magnuson household with the volume all the way up. I will have you know, as far as the Big Ten is concerned, my friend. Oregon, Washington. We'll get some side love for sure, and it'll be on my on TV number 2. But this is getting the volume in the Magnuson household. I will have you know.
God bless you. God bless you. Hey, this would be in a few months. This is Sunday must-time watch, by the way, in baskets. Iowa at Wisconsin.
That's right. No, I'm getting the more we keep talking about it. I am getting more and more excited about that because even more successful in Big Ten basketball than I am in football. So I'm chomping at the bit for some Big Ten basketball, my friend. But anything else to note? Whether you want to go anywhere else in college football, we're at about an hour here. We talked baseball earlier in the show. I guess we can, if you want to tie up, we don't need to go too deep into tomorrow's slate if you don't want, but there are a couple of college football games, 3 college football games tonight. Late game. I know Dion, I didn't see the full quote, but I saw the headline that Dion wasn't too happy about these 9-10 o'clock games out on the West Coast for Colorado there. But Colorado, obviously, the big paying ticket on tonight's slate. They are, I think since this morning went from 11.5 to 12.5, if I'm not mistaken there. Am I right with that? Am I talking out of my you-know-what, or is that correct? I thought I saw 11.5 even a couple hours ago this morning.
At 12.5 now it's circa. See, now what happens here is Thursday night, the oil money flies in from Texas, and then tonight it's the West Coast money that flies in. So don't forget, today is payday. So they see, oh shit, Dion, prime time, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah,
against Stanford.
And
against Stanford.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll probably be 13 by kickoff. Listen, my true number is 10.5 with a 59. I might, call me crazy, we had Arizona State last week plus the 3.5. We won by the hook against Colorado. If I were to play this game, I'm playing Stanford. It's another perfect flat spot. Dion hasn't had a week off in a couple weeks. Don't forget, they had at Oregon, home against USC, then played Arizona State last week. Now they got a 10 o'clock game against Stanford, which is a perfect flat spot for them. Let me see what you got here. What is the Colorado first half spread?
Depends on the book. I see. Let me get a better breakdown here. Actually, a lot of spots different. I see 6.5 on DraftKings juiced under. I see 7.5 on FanDuel juiced to Stanford plus 7.5. And then BetMGM and Caesars a flat 7.
The same as Kansas City last night. They didn't want to give away any money. They didn't want to get blasted. They had KC -7 last night against Denver. That obviously cashes. Listen, no disrespect. I just, any number with Colorado is going to be inflated. Again, my true number was 10.5. It's 12. I wouldn't be shocked if this got up to 14 by kickoff. I really wouldn't.
No, and I have enjoyed this Colorado season as much as anybody. Maybe not as much as anybody. There's a lot of people that are really enjoying it. I have enjoyed this season a lot, and their offense is very exciting. But their defense has shown to be pretty damn bad at certain times. So if you're telling me that Stanford could put a 30 spot up on their side of things, I'm not going to blink at you and shake a stick at you at all. So, I whether or not I'll be diving into this one, but I agree. I don't know, but I could see it. I think it's going to climb, like you said, and I don't know. Are we all systems go if you see 90% of the bets all over Colorado and it's going the other way and it's coming back down to 11.5? Are we all systems go? It's stench of the night.
Well, yeah, I think the sharp side is Stanford. I think you're going to see that. They're going to allow the public to push this up. I'm looking at one site right now. 69% of the bets are on Colorado, 53% of the money right now on Colorado. And again, perfect scheduling, because anyone that dives in early tonight in some hockey or some preseason NBA basketball, or jumps in on Tulane, Memphis, or Fresno State, Utah, and is taking a beating, they're just going to be pumping it in on Colorado, as we know.
Yeah, it's the game of the night. No baseball in town today. It's becoming the game of the night. So I think you're going to see a lot of eyes realizing that as the day goes on there. So I don't think I have too much else, my friend. This was a fantastic hour plus of Big Ten talk, and obviously everything else that we've got going on today and this weekend, or last night, I should say, as well. But anything else to mention before we get on out of here?
No, to my friend Andrew McGinnis at Wager Talk, I was a host with him yesterday afternoon at 3:00. We did a lot of hockey. We did some futures, and I was just looking at the board. We have two college CFL games tonight. So Dr. Lance, if you're listening, BC Hamilton, BC's favored by 3.5. Look for a bounce back, by the way, from BC. And Saskatchewan and Calgary. Calgary a 3.5-point favorite. That number reeks to me. Look for the dog and Saskatchewan there. In hockey, Arizona at New Jersey. New Jersey minus 250. Pittsburgh at Washington. Pittsburgh a short favorite there, trying to rebound off of the home opening loss, 4-2 to your Blackhawks, by the way, there. So I usually have good rivalry. The 6.5 juice under on that game. And again, Tulane, Memphis, 7 o'clock. Tulane opened at 3, now 5. I think Memphis is live here. It's not the same Tulane team of last year. They're good, but not of last year's good. And Memphis is usually a slow starter at home. So if you like the Tulane side, take a look at them in the first half there. We talked about Stanford and Colorado already. And Fresno State at Utah State, a number opened at 7 down to 5, even 4.5 at South Point. Hello to Chris Andrews and Mr. Vaccaro there, down to 4.5 with a 55.5 or 56. I hate Utah State. Every time I bet them, they get killed. Every time I go against them, they're putting up 40. Fresno State is the better team here, without a doubt. Just buyer beware, because something's up in this game. So I smell rat. But it's been a hell of a week, Riley. We did a lot of great shows with the closing bell. I love our Friday morning spot here, kind of to tie the weekend up. For you, closing thoughts as you get ready for the weekend.
Closing thoughts, don't have too much else other than I think I mentioned last night. Might be diving into some golf action this week. I told you, decent tournament. A lot of the, I think almost all of the Ryder Cup guys are not in action. There's certainly not the Americans. Still got their tail between their legs. But the Europeans, aside, I saw Mr. Ludwig Aberg, a guy that a lot of people think he's going to break out in this tournament. Not playing exactly fantastic, but nonetheless, it's a good tournament. Might be taking a look at it. You got one of my guys, Tom Kim, kind of lurking in the weeds, trying to get up, moving up the leaderboard. So keep an eye out. Might have some golf stuff this weekend on top of everything else. But nonetheless, fantastic week of shows, my friend. Always a blast. And we will look forward to this weekend. Obviously going to have a lot of college football and NFL stuff going on this weekend, so I cannot wait.
No, a busy slate. Baseball takes center stage tomorrow night. Astros and Rangers. And then I think Monday night. Is it Monday night? Yeah, Monday night will be the
Sunday
game
night
one
for
Phillies.
the Sunday night starts Rangers Astros, not tomorrow night.
Okay, Sunday night, so they get extra day off, and then Monday will be Phillies and Diamondbacks. Obviously, big day of college football tomorrow, and then the NFL on Sunday. Shout out to all my friends and colleagues. Flying out to Vegas for Patriots and Raiders on Sunday there, so it ought to be a hoot there. 1 o'clock, Sean Childs will be coming on. We're going to try to break down the Millie Maker at DraftKings, try to take down the big ticket there. 3 o'clock, 3 men in a box. Matt Grissom, and I'm not sure, I don't think our other partner there, Quentin Mills, will be there, but we'll be breaking down some college football. And then at 5 o'clock, our closing bell of the week with Ron at Ron A Sports, breaking down the data, the analysis, second to none in the business. We'll be talking some college football and NFL. So been a great week. Busy day here in the office. Riley, go have an amazing weekend. Have some fun. Good luck at 4 o'clock your time. I know 3 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock mine on Saturday. Enjoy Wisconsin and Iowa. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one, the only, Riley Magnuson at Riley Magnuson, the one. Don't forget the underscore. We wish everyone a blessed morning. Have some fun. I'll see you guys in about an hour and 15. Stay tuned.